Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody is safe and well, and welcome to the Mind of Yash PCOS series. So I'm sorry for the little late start, not too late. We just had a little bit of tech issues, but we seem to have sorted out now. So we're here now to bless you and to also just share some information and have a good conversation tonight. So without further ado, I just want to introduce my friend tonight who will be chatting with me. Her name is Marshall Henry. So we didn't get to have Marshall Monday this week, but we have a Marshall Tuesday. So a little bit about her is that she's an engineer. We actually did chemical and process engineering together. She's a businesswoman, a health coach, a minister, and singer. She loves God and she loves people most of the time. I hear. She is very big on holistic health. She's vegan. She loves fitness. She exercises regularly and she is very big on emotional and spiritual health. She is a trained engineer, a trained teacher, a trained minister, and currently doing a diet and nutritional advisor diploma. And she wants to really help others on their journey, and that includes, weight, muscle, fitness goals, and illness symptom management, and soon disease reversal. So she also distributes some natural and plant-based products to help people be in better health. Oh, better health. And she's an animal lover, and she hopes to have an animal shelter one day. Wow, isn't that wow? So let me bring on the wonderful Marshall Henry. If I had an audience, oh, and guys, before we really go into the conversation, make sure and if you have questions, if you have comments, feedback, be sure to send them in the chat so that we could have an interactive discussion. So good night, Marshall.
Good night, Yashi.
How are you?
I am good.
Oh,
How are you?
oh, very, very good. Very good. Very good to see you.
Good, you too. Wish I could see everybody else joining us on Facebook, but I can't.
Yeah, we can.
Well, hi to everybody, the virtual audience.
Hi guys. So Masha, so I shared with everybody a bit about your bio. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience about yourself?
No, I think you got it. I think you got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So Masha, so we've known each other since 2005. So
Yeah.
somebody in the audience will do that math. Um,
Ajay probably.
and I think only like maybe a few years ago, I really noticed that you change your lifestyle and we're doing a lot of healthy things, and that was very admirable, but I didn't know that it had stemmed from your own journey, your own struggle as well. So for the audience who would know already, I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and because of that diagnosis, I had many years where I struggled and I didn't make the best choices, I didn't have the best habits, and I really only started changing things within the last year or two that really kind of helped my symptoms, and help me deal with it more positively. So for you, tell me, what was your journey like? What really triggered your health journey and for you to really just pivot into becoming a health coach?
Okay, thanks, Yashi. And thanks again for giving me this opportunity to share with your PCOS audience. All right, so me, like you, didn't really have the best of choices before I got ill. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease in 2016. But before that, I didn't really have the best of choices in terms of what I ate. I didn't work out. I mean, I lived right across from the gym and I never went.
Oh, Lord.
There was even free membership and I didn't go. I was just not interested. I
Right.
didn't eat. I ate very emotionally. And if you had a bad day, it was KFC.
Yes.
And so there was no real concern for my health. There was no real focus on health at that time because you're young, you're in your 20s. Why do I need to be focused on health?
Mm-hmm.
And then I got really sick. So I was diagnosed with a thyroid condition in 2016. So that would have been about 5 years ago, and my life completely changed. That illness took a serious toll on me, on my health, on my body, on my mind, on my marriage, on everything. And so having to have gone through that, I realized that making changes in my lifestyle would help, especially in the beginning where the doctors took so long to figure out what was wrong with me.
Yeah.
It was months. They kept checking. They knew it was something in the thyroid, but it was not just a strict overactive thyroid or underactive thyroid. It was actually a rare illness that was a combination of both.
Right.
So sometimes I'd be overactive and they're treating me for that and wondering why I'm not getting better, but because it was underactive. And then they started treating me for that and it wasn't getting any better. So they tried, at one point, they were treating me for both at the same time and I still didn't get better. It was very awful.
Yeah, I can.
I was on sick leave from work for about 7 months. The symptoms were very extreme. When you have a overactive thyroid, the person tends to have a very high metabolism because the thyroid gland secretes hormones that control entire metabolism. So all your body processes speed up. Heart rate, breathing, digestive system, everything speeds up. And unfortunately, the body can't sustain that for extended periods of time. So it's actually very dangerous and you can die. The underactive thyroid is the opposite, where your metabolism slows down. So everything slows down. Your digestive system. So I ate nothing and I gained 20 pounds in a matter of 2 weeks because it was all hormonal based. And so going through that, I realized that making changes in my diet and in my lifestyle would actually help. So I started, I wish I could say I started small.
Yeah.
I didn't. I just cut. I cut everything that I believed could have given me some relief because the symptoms were so bad.
Yeah.
And I stopped eating meat. I didn't eat dairy from before because I'm lactose intolerant. So there was no meat, no dairy. There was no soy because of the hormonal influence on my body. There was no gluten. And that actually had the biggest impact on my health. Coming off gluten.
Right.
And no GMO foods. As well as I started exercising, which was very difficult in the beginning because I had muscle degeneration. But it was doing those changes, and little by little, I started to improve. And here I am 5 years later. I wish you can say it was just a smooth road, but it wasn't. There were
Yeah.
lots of
I could relate to someone. I mean, I still kind of admire the fact that once you found out that you had this illness or disease or whatever you want to call it, and you were able to say, okay, I'm going to cut things out completely right away. Because for me, like, it didn't really happen that way. Like, I would probably do like something for a little while and it wouldn't be consistent, and then I would kind of fall off the wagon and then go back into the cycle again. So it only took me, like, when I had my daughter, because, not as you're talking about it, what's coming to my mind is that sometimes we just develop these unhealthy habits, and sometimes it might not necessarily be something learned from our family, because, like, we went to school together. I remember, like, when we were studying and late night studying, and we're in school, we're on campus, and the quickest things to get is, like, you go and get KFC, you go and get junk food or something like that, and
Subway, alu pie,
right, all those things, and you don't
current roll.
realize and you don't realize that those things add up eventually as you get older. And at one point, I really think, like, last year, a year ago, I think my body just kind of had enough. It just was like, you can't be going down this road, you need to, like, make a change. And it just, like, things was just going haywire, and I had to really take stock and make some changes. So I think, I guess it was like that for you as well, but it feels like it took me a little longer to get there. And when I saw my daughter, and I was like, okay, well, I can't be telling her to eat right and exercise and do these things, and I'm not doing it. So, and the other thing that I pointed out when you were talking is, like, people don't realize that when you have something like this in your life, they think it's maybe just a physical or aesthetic thing, but it can have so much repercussions on everything, on your
Everything.
relationships, on your health. I
On your
mean, what would you
mental health, your emotional stability. It
right?
affects everything. I
Yes.
mean, I ended up with depression and anxiety because of it.
Yeah.
And that was another tailspin.
Right.
But something that just came out to me based on what you just said. You said you made your changes before were not consistent, but
Right.
about a year ago, and that was relatively soon after you had your daughter,
Mm-hmm.
that it became more consistent. And what that jumps out to me is you had more motivation now.
Yes.
She was your motivation.
Yes.
And so I think all of us, as we get some comments coming in, my friend Philip is saying grab the easiest thing, which is true. That's what we do,
Yeah.
and it, unless we have that motivation to change, we won't really change, because it's so easy to just stay where we are and keep our lifestyle the same.
Yeah.
But for me, I only did that because it was life and death. I actually nearly died twice.
Oh gosh.
So after looking at death in the face, because I couldn't breathe properly, I couldn't walk, I couldn't even use the bathroom by myself. I had to get help to use the bathroom. And at that stage, when you're, I can't say in the beginning I really wanted to live. In the beginning, I just wanted to die, because I was like, what's the point in living like this? But
Yeah.
after a while, I said, okay, no, I'm gonna fight. And as I started to decide what fighting looks like, it means that anything that you can do in your power, you do it. Which
Yeah.
is why I started to do, okay, here are these little things that, in my mind, there are little things that I could do to help what the doctors were doing. But lo and behold, it did come a point where it turns out that what the doctors were doing worked sometimes, but it didn't work the other times. And that's the nicest way I can put it.
Yeah.
Because in both cases where I nearly died, the doctors were at fault. I
Yeah.
saw 9 different doctors, and in both instances, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
So
That's so scary, because I mean, on one hand I'd be like, okay, well, doctors are only human too, they're trying their best. But on the other hand, I was like, it's so scary, because you really don't know what's going on with you, and you're trying to look to somebody to help, and it really comes back down to your lifestyle. Because for some reason, Mash, like, I don't like the doctors, and I don't like medication, and I don't like all these things. And unfortunately, I have to be on certain things right now to get. But my goal is to get completely, because just changing like the things that I eat and upping my exercise has changed a lot. But there are like little things that you would need medication and stuff for. But it just goes to show that there's so much research and that needs to be done on these different conditions, and also it's so individualistic, if that's a word, because
yeah.
something that might work for somebody else is not going to work for you, so that's very important to note as well.
Yeah, so true. It's very individualistic, and so we have to do the research. And unfortunately, some of it is trial and error, and we have to be willing to be brave enough to do that research on our own. Help doctors if you can look at it like that,
Yeah.
but also for ourselves, for our own health, for our own sanity, for our families, for those persons around us who love us. And when we are healthy, I say this to myself all the time: when you have health, anything else becomes possible.
Yeah.
If you don't have health, it's not just the fact that you're unhealthy and life continues. Most times it's persons who have to be, it's when you're really unhealthy, then you recognize it, how it impacts everything else in your life. You're
Yeah.
not able to be the mom that you want, or the wife that you want to be, or the daughter, or the employee that you want to be, because your body's not able to respond how it wants. And
Right.
so when your health is affected, everything is affected. And so just like how you made the changes so far and you've seen where it has been impactful for you, I also encourage you to do some more research as well, to see, okay, what else can I do, that will help me even more. Because I didn't start off here. I started off with those small changes, and at first I didn't have a problem going to the doctors. Like how you say you don't really like the doctors, I didn't really have a problem, to be honest. I was very gullible and very
Yeah.
naive, and anything the doctors told me, I believed them,
Yeah.
until I nearly died
Mm.
twice. After that, I was just like, okay, I understand it's trial and error, and I understand they're doing their best, and I understand they're humans, which is why I never sued them.
Mm.
But I just said, okay. No, I'm serious. At one point, it was just clear, it was negligence. The doctor was just too busy seeing too many patients and wasn't checking me frequently enough to see when my hormone levels had changed dramatically.
Okay.
And so, I just said, you know what? God, you created me for a reason. I have a brain. I'm an engineer. I taught biology for 7 years, so I had a very good grasp of the human body, and I just started to do research and research and research and just try things. I started to research on the various foods to eat and the ones not to eat. I started to research on herbs and supplements and which ones would help me. And then I just started to teach myself, and I realized that I started to improve health-wise.
Mm.
And I mean, I look at where I am now that I'm able to help others, and even doing a course now in becoming a diet and nutritional advisor, so that I can certify myself to make sure that what I'm telling or advising persons, that it is the right thing for them. But
Yes.
definitely we can use our diet, we can use our lifestyle, because that also includes sleep, exercising, all of stress management, everything else, in order to really gain health. So it's not just diet, but it's everything else that encompasses health, which is why I kind of termed it a health coach.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I was just gonna ask that because like when was that epiphany moment? Because I know like for me, um, even though I had PCOS for so many years, it was only last year I realized I was like, okay, well, this is something that I've been struggling with. This was my pain point, and this is what I could use to help other people in that journey. So when was that epiphany for you to when you decided it's like, okay, well, I could help other people. I could be a health coach.
That was by chance. So what we say in Jamaica, by buck ups. Some persons just saw my progress and asked me to help. So I would have because it's been about 5 years. So in the first 2 years it was awful.
Hmm.
And I was very stubborn, I was very negative, so I didn't have as much growth. By about the third or the fourth year, I was improving, and I started my exercise journey. And I think that had more outward impact, where persons could see physically how my body was changing.
Hmm.
Because when you're dealing with an illness that is hormonal based, hormones impact your weight. And persons will look at your weight if you're overweight or if you're underweight and say, oh, why is she so skinny, or why is she so overweight? Why she don't go lose weight? But they don't understand that when it's hormones that impacting your weight, you could be, eat so little and you still gain weight. You're not even losing weight because hormones are involved.
Correct.
And so as I started to take control of my health, to work out, and also to use supplements that help to regulate my hormones naturally, in
Hmm.
addition to what the doctors were giving me, I decided to do my own. And as I started to improve, and persons around could see how my physical features were changing, they could see I had lost the weight even with an hormonal based, illness.
Hmm.
And they just started to ask me to help. They're like, Marshall, what are you doing? And I just started to help them. And I just say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And I just started to work with them. And here we are.
Oh, that's amazing. So Philip is asking, he wants to know, how do you manage stress?
How do I manage stress? Okay. So I can share about this because I was very, very poor in stress management previous to this illness. In fact, I
Yeah.
think that you're the same.
Yes.
And as I do the research, I realized that the type of illness that I ended up with, a thyroid illness, there are persons who have my personality type, strong go-getters, type A, who take personalities who take on the world, to think they can control anything, who normally end up with this type of illness
Yeah.
when I'm doing my research. And so I realized that managing stress was a big part of my healing.
Mm.
So as we say in Jamaica, I had to learn to not put nothing on my head. When we say not put nothing on my head, it means don't continue to meditate or to think about all of these things that are outside of your control. And so, what I had to do was what we call the serenity prayer, where I had to learn to differentiate between the things that I can control and the things that I can't control,
Mhm.
and focus my energies on the things that I can control. So I don't know if you know the serenity prayer.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it goes, God,
Well,
grant
I
me the
know all of
serenity to accept the things I cannot change,
yes.
the courage to change the things I can,
You're better. This is yes.
and
Go
the
ahead.
wisdom to know the difference. There we go. So that's
Go ahead.
that. So this grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. That, you see, accepting the things that cannot change was foreign to me. I somehow in my head thought I could change anything and everything if I worked hard enough, if I worked smart enough, if I didn't sleep, if I did this, I didn't that. I somehow in my head thought I had impact or influence on any and everything. And then I had to learn that I didn't,
Yes.
and to just recognize when I don't have control over something. Pray about it. If you're a person of faith, you pray about it. If not, you find other ways to cope with that issue. And
Mhm.
then the things that I do have control over, I spend my time working on those, and asking the Lord to show me how to differentiate between the things that I can control and the things that I can't.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know.
I completely agree with that. For me, it was like building a new skill because I think like growing up, nobody really teaches you how to manage stress. And then now in today's day, you have so many things going on, and you have so many roles. It's very difficult
It's
to
so
manage.
stressful
Yeah,
being a millennial right now.
and what like helped me say is like when I started doing a specific training in art of being a woman, the way they put everything, it's like, okay, you have different arenas in your life. You have, your self-image, your health, your relationships, your environment, your contribution, and 8 of them. And it basically was showing us that sometimes we neglect certain arenas of our life. So like for us when we were in school, we probably were focusing on like how we're gonna build our wealth, how we're gonna build our contribution, and we weren't really paying attention to our health or maybe even our friendships, or or if we get married or something, we do everything for like as a mom and you forget your relationship or things like that. We don't always pay attention to each arena, and I realized that I was starting to become depleted in certain arenas because I didn't even realize like I was supposed to be paying attention, like to say my environment. So like I I don't like clutter, but I cause a lot of clutter because I'm doing so many other things that I want to do that I put that to the
Funny.
bottom of my list. But then that stresses me out because I really do want to have an organized space, but I never really thought about it as, I need to look at my environment as one thing and make sure I'm dedicating any time to handle the stress in that area and look at my health and the different things like that. So that was one thing that really helped me to deal with stress on the whole. And then what you're saying with the serenity prayer, well, for me was to have like positive scripts to say to myself when I felt the stress coming on. Oh, and that's another thing too. You need to also be a little bit self-aware to what are your triggers, because
Definitely.
I didn't really pay attention to exactly what my triggers were. Like certain things would just make me very anxious, make me very stressed, and I didn't really take the time to understand, well, why is this making me stressed in the first place? So
Mhm.
that helped me trying to really understand my triggers and then
Girl,
having,
at least you realize you are stressed. You're one
yeah.
step ahead of the rest of us.
Yeah.
I'd be stressed and I don't know.
Yes, you have to really understand what your triggers can be.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
self-awareness. So true. So true.
Oh,
And I really love what you said about having that
having a self-
positive script.
yeah.
Yeah. Having that positive script. Oh my gosh, it is so important. I mean, this is somewhat indirectly related to Philip's question about stress because, as you said, your triggers. I was so negative. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it, then. I was so negative. Like, I did not recognize, my ex would complain about it all the time, but I didn't recognize how negative I was
Right.
until I started, as you said, self awareness, to check how I speak to myself, the things, the thoughts that I entertain, what the words that I say.
Mm.
All of that has impact. Even in fact, I think that was also a big part of my healing because
Yeah.
as I started to get healing, I had to think differently. I had to think thoughts of health, think like I was healthy, to declare and speak health and things that impacted my health, to speak positively. And at first, I couldn't.
Mm.
Like I just couldn't. And so I had to get those affirmations. I got them online, and I found some affirmations and I just started to declare them. And I also found some healing confessions. And this was very, very important too, because I don't think I shared this part before, but a part of my journey is I was praying for divine healing. I'm sorry, but I was just tired of doctors and I was tired of medication.
Yeah.
Because based on what they said to me, I would be on medication for the rest of my life. And the medication didn't solve the problems and it didn't cure all the symptoms. I still relapsed about 4 times, I think, while on the medication in the past 4 years. And so I said, you know what, the medication, it's not the beat and all. It did have side effects on me. And their alternative was to do a surgery to remove my thyroid or to do radioactive iodine treatment, which is to kill the thyroid. And I thought about it, researched it, prayed about it, and none of those were acceptable to me because they were all really invasive, all really permanent. And where I was in understanding my health and my body and biologically, and in my healthy, natural-based lifestyle, I realized the impact that would have on or could have on me long term.
Yeah.
And I decided that no, I'm not doing that, because either of those I'd still be on medication for the rest of my life anyway.
Yeah.
They would have just treated the illness that I had by giving me another illness that was easier to treat, which is the lack of the thyroid. So I'd have no thyroid hormones being secreted naturally and have to be on replacement hormones for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And I started to pursue divine healing. For me, I'm a woman of faith. I don't know if anybody else in the audience doesn't believe like I believe. Hopefully you're not offended. If you want, you can just stick your fingers in your ears. And, while I'm saying this, and I'll wave when I'm done talking about it. I'll do this when I'm done. But for me, as a woman of faith, as a Christian, I believed that God promised me healing, that it's in his word, in the scriptures, by his stripes we were healed. I believe that healing was a part of the salvation package. And so I know this is not for everybody else. I know that there's some persons who they're quite fine with being on medication for the rest of their life once, and they have faith that God would use the medication to heal them. And that's perfectly fine. You operate with the faith that God has given you, and don't be in any way, offended by what I'm about to say. But for me, I was dissatisfied. I believed that if God made my body, he could fix it. And I refused to be on medication for the rest of my life. I started to pray and fast about it, and the Lord told me to come off the medication. So I did. I came off all medication and I threw them in the toilet. Now, this is a medication that is supposed to keep me alive, because remember I said in the beginning that I can die from it.
Yes.
And having nearly died a couple of times, it was very real for me. It was very scary. I didn't do it easily, because if somebody had come to me and told me that, I would have told them, you need to exercise wisdom, in how you approach your illness and your disease management. I would never have done that. And so I did it. And I have been off medication for, I don't even know how long now. It's been a while. And I'm still alive. I'm healthy. I'm happy. And a big part of that was declaring healing confessions, was speaking the word of God, finding the scriptures that spoke about healing, declaring them over my life, and trusting that God would heal me, along with doing what I was supposed to do with my diet, my exercise, and my positive mental attitude.
Yeah.
And there are ups and downs. I still had symptoms sometimes and really had to work on them. But yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
It's eons away from where you were 5 years ago.
Eons.
So that's amazing.
Yeah. I was supposed to wave when the persons who don't believe like us can come back. You can come back now.
That guy.
Come back.
Okay, Mash. So, well, Marshall prepared a little presentation to share with the audience. So I think that was a good time for you to go ahead and share. Okay, well, let me just see this comment from this gentleman. This gentleman. We are often not given the tools from young to deal with the world and our surroundings, and it's difficult to unlearn that behavior. We need to retrain our minds and get the tools needed to make the change. A positive mindset needs to be learned, or it has more. Like everything else.
So true.
Okay, so Kimberly is saying, so basically you would say some situations could be spiritual then?
Definitely. Negativity as well. I mean, before I ever go into the presentation, I just wanted to speak on one more thing, and that is just the power of a positive mental attitude. And we've always heard about being positive. Now, for somebody like me who's an engineer, very scientific, and I hear somebody's like, oh, just be positive, and I'm like, so that's going to make all my symptoms go away? Like what? And I can be very feisty. I've grown, I have learned. So, I remember when persons would say to me, okay, Michelle, you need to be more positive. And, for example, if I would say how I spoke a lot of how I felt.
Yes.
And the reality of my situation. And when you are dealing with a life-threatening illness, your symptoms can be very serious. And I'm sure even the persons with PCOS or any autoimmune disease or any illness on a whole, and you have serious symptoms, when you speak, it can be, when you speak of your situations, if persons are not emotionally stable, it can be very disheartening to hear someone they know experiencing all of these things. So if I talk about my hair falling out and coming out in clumps, and I could see what the impacts on me, and I couldn't breathe, and I would share that person, it would, it'd be difficult for persons, understandably so. But in how I spoke about it, I realized I also needed to change, Because if someone would say to me, Michelle, be grateful, you know, it could be worse. Look on the positive side, it could be dead. You know, back then, when I first started out, I apologize, but I would have, like, you know, kind of face the responses like, you know, I wish I was dead. Like, I actually said that I wish I was dead because the symptoms were that bad. But then as I started to change and look at how I thought and how I spoke, there's a saying by Joyce Meyer that says 80% of our problems are about how we feel about ourselves.
Yes.
And I saw myself as someone who was sick. I didn't see myself as someone who was healthy. And so a lot of the things I wanted to do or say, oh, I can't do that because I'm sick. Oh, you know, I had muscle degeneration and I had physical, you know, I had reduced physical capabilities. So there are lots of things that persons take for granted, like to be able to walk somewhere to do what you want on your own leisure. I couldn't do. I couldn't use the bathroom by myself.
Yeah.
But how I thought was very, very, I focused a lot on my situation instead of how I wanted the situation to be, how I wanted it to change. Exactly. So I used to declare a lot about how I feel, which is truth, but it's not helpful. And so I had to learn to speak about what I wanted to see, to declare that, you know, it's going to be different. I'm going to be different, to see myself as someone who is healthy, to speak as someone who is healthy, even before I could do the things that healthy persons do.
Yeah.
I had to visualize it, to see myself running, jumping, skipping, dancing, working out, exercising, all of those things that I wanted to be able to do and couldn't, and to speak like that. So even when things weren't how I wanted them to be, you know, I would learn to speak positively. Like, I would say, you know, they're not where I want to be, but they're improving.
Yes.
Instead of listing out all the awful symptoms.
No,
You know?
I love what you're saying there, because to me that was what, when things changed for me, because you don't realize really, or actually maybe I did realize, I'm not sure, but I really was very negative too. I would be very positive if I'm talking to other people, but when it came to my situation, I would be very negative as well. And what you said, to visualize, so you really need to put it in your mind, because if you start thinking these negative things and thinking you can't do certain things, then that's what's gonna happen. Whatever you focus on expands. And that
Love
mind
that.
shift and that shift was needed for me to feel like I was thriving with PCOS. I mean, I'm not. I know I still have the condition, and will have symptoms, and it won't always be a bed of roses. But just changing the way I saw the situation, and being grateful for what I can do, for having my daughter, for being able to
Yeah.
help other people. It made such a difference in just everything. And I used
Yeah.
to think it was so cliche. It's like, think positively. I'm just like, yeah, but how?
Yeah, but how does that change my situation?
But it
It
really,
does.
your mind, it really is about changing that wiring in your mind. And it takes some time. As you said it wasn't easy at first to do that, because you're just programmed to think that negative thing. I would think of all the worst case scenarios in every situation. I would think, and it may be an engineer thing too,
True, me
because
too.
I kind of have to sometimes. But it's so important to really, just how you say things. Because I remember my friend Khalees, she's from Culture Fitness. She had a quote saying, like, when you're working out, don't say I have to work out, say I get to work out today. And when I said it like that, I was like, that just changed the whole concept of the thing, and you
Yeah.
feel more motivated. So I really love what you just shared there, Mash.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Kimberly saying, it is difficult in a time when negativity is all around, though. So what is being shared is very important. Yes, and that's true. Because sometimes you never know what your words and just your light and your positivity can do for somebody else. So, and it is very negative around. I know, like, sometimes when I just see negativity, it can really take a toll on me. Like, literally, I feel my whole aura just going down. So sometimes it really is important to kind of try to motivate yourself and have things to say and to pray, as Marshall is saying, to keep your spirits up. But if you have days where you just need like a minute to gather yourself, and it's okay, because we're all human. But just
Yeah.
try to do to get better the next day, or just give yourself the time, and then get back on the horse, or
Yes. To work
whatever.
at it, to
Yes,
take control of your thoughts, but to give yourself grace as well,
yes,
knowing that, it gets better, it takes time to get better.
Yes.
Just as you're saying, there was a book, because I had to read a lot of books, by the way, that helped me. So it didn't just come to me naturally, by with just even just the affirmations or just the scriptures, even though the scriptures are really powerful.
Mm.
For me, I think I'm really stubborn, and so I had to read a couple of books, and there's I'm going to recommend some books as well. But there's one that you're saying that just as what you were saying about the mindset and how it's, I can't remember the exact words that you used just now,
Mm.
but it creates, when we start to think positively, it creates patterns in our brain that can actually break habits. It's what you're saying about how we were wired. We can actually change our brain wiring
Yes.
by how we think. So as we start to think positively more and more, we can actually change the neurochemistry of our brain, which actually produces healing. There's a book that I read called Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Carolyn Leaf, and she did a lot of work in that, to persons who were negative and toxic, and they thought like that, and how they actually thought themselves into illness
Yeah.
by their negative toxic thoughts, and how persons who thought very positively can actually help to bring about healing because they're able to change their own neurobiology.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm going to supposed to share a presentation.
Yeah. So you take it away, Mash. I'm gonna come off the screen. So
Yeah, switch on your brain, Kimberly saying. I'm going to share it. It's in my presentation. And my lovely audience, I'm going to need you to help me when you can see this presentation, okay? Let me know when you can see it, because I don't want to be talking and you guys aren't seeing me or hearing me, okay? Can you guys see my screen? Okay. Type in the message bars that you can see me or see the screen so I know. Yes, please. Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. So going back to the presentation, so Yashi had introduced me already. So what I just wanted to share was a little bit about what I was going through, with also the physical evidence, because it's one thing to hear somebody talk about their experience, but it's another thing to kind of see the visual evidence of it. At least for me, I always respond better or can appreciate something that someone is saying better when I can actually see it. So I just started to share I went back and found some pictures of when I was struggling with the thyroid illness. And as I shared earlier, I had hypothyroidism, which is the underactive thyroid, as well as the hyperthyroidism, which is the overactive thyroid. So on the left, you can see a picture of when I was more overweight. And there are lots of symptoms that you can see on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, you can see a picture of when I was much smaller, and a lot of the symptoms also that came with the overactive thyroid. And I don't want, and if you can imagine that these pictures weren't actually taken in too far apart of a time. I think this was actually in a period of a couple months, where my weight would just balloon as my thyroid gland slowed down, or it would just, I would get really small as the thyroid gland started to become overactive. And I never knew what it could do, which day when I woke up, what would happen on each day. So that was very difficult to deal with. And that's one of the reasons why it pushed me to see what I could do, or what was in my power to do in regards to my health. All right. I did say that there were some books that I read that helped me to figure out what I could do. The first one is one I was telling you about, by Dr. Carolyn Leaf, and it's called Switch on Your Brain. Now, I think this is for anyone who wants to be healthy and who wants to understand how thinking positively can actually impact your health and your life, and how thinking negatively can make your stress worse, which can actually lead to physical illnesses. And we've always heard that person say that stress kills, and when you're really stressed for a really long time, you can result in physical illnesses. And she actually did the research, from a neurobiological standpoint, to prove how the thoughts impact your health. So if you can, guys, definitely check out this book, Switch on Your Brain. It helps you to control what you think. There's another book, oh my gosh, this book, Hung by the Tongue. For people, if anybody who you are typically negative, and understand that some personality types are more negative than others, Hung by the Tongue really helped me. It pretty much pointed out you using scriptures and using stories and evidences that what you say is what you get, which is why even if you feel a particular way and it is truth, don't say, oh, I want to speak my truth. No, speak what you want to be your truth. Speak what you want to get, because what you say is what you get. Very, very powerful. And I mean, I read this book like 3 times. And then also another book on what you eat called Eat Dirt, and it shows you how you can change your diet and what you should eat and not eat depending on the different illnesses that are very popular in our 21st century. It's called Eat Dirt by Dr. Josh Axe, and he's always on Oprah talking about different autoimmune conditions and how you can help it with your diet. So just recommending this, that you guys can check this out. All right. I know that there are a lot of PCOS persons on this Facebook Live tonight. So I decided to do a little bit more research in PCOS and ways that you can regulate your hormones and reduce the symptoms naturally. A big part of that is to eat whole foods, your diet. You want to stay away from anything that is artificial. So you want to get as close to your natural unprocessed state as possible. So stay away from the baked goods and the biscuits and the flour and the bread and all of those things. You want to stay as close as possible with your beans, your herbs, your whether it's callaloo, spinach, whatever vegetables, yam, potato, plantain, those things. So eat, whole foods as much as possible, as well as you want to avoid foods that have preservatives and a lot of hormones. And that's especially important for women in the Caribbean who have a lot of fibroids, and also because that also impacted by hormones. You want to avoid foods that impact your hormone levels. And I say chicken because a lot of our chicken in the Caribbean is raised with a lot of hormone injections that enables the turnover to be a shorter period of time, about 6 weeks. Right? You want to stay away from beef as well. In fact, red meats on a whole, but beef also, because the cows also tend to get a lot of hormones. And soy. Soy, even though it's a better alternative to meat if you're trying to be more vegetarian or vegan, if you have any hormone-based illness, I would advise you to reduce the amount of soy. So like if you have PCOS, because soy acts like estrogen in your body, and many women with PCOS already have high levels of estrogen in their body. All right. Also to avoid like carbs, fried foods, red meat, coffee, sodas. Make sure you're exercising. Lifting weights and rebounding, you can do some research, but these are not all exercises the same. If you're not doing any exercise at all, then I would say start with whatever feels comfortable to you, whatever, if you can just go for a walk or for a jog, Zumba, Yashida Zumba, whatever you can do. But if you are trying to heal your body naturally, there's certain exercises that promote cellular regeneration better or faster than others, and that involves lifting weights and rebounding. So rebounding is just it's jumping up and down on a rebounder, which is like a mini trampoline. All right, that you see that in the picture here. Also get proper rest, reduce stress, and I've included some supplements that are very, very good for helping. Especially when you have no energy, I'm going to point out the adaptogen herbs like ashwagandha and rhodiola. They're really, really good to provide energy very naturally. And also evening primrose oil is very good for regulating your hormones. So while you're using your diet and exercise to help manage your symptoms, you can also internally reduce the hormonal imbalance by using supplements that have in, iron, magnesium, zinc, chromium, which is very good for regulating your blood sugar. A lot of persons with PCOS comes with insulin resistance, which is why they tend to gain weight. So chromium really helps there. All right. Also, just wanted to summarize by saying that there is hope. For me, if you look at this, you'll see where I put a picture of where I'm coming from, because one of the symptoms that I had was really, really bad acne. any hormonal based illness, you will have you will tend to have acne because it is your menstrual cycle is impacted, which will impact your your skin um, structure. And so if you look at where I'm coming from to where I am now, even though there's a little bit of makeup there, you can still see that the skin is better. All right. And in terms of my weight, before I was not able to control my weight, and exercise alone isn't able to control your weight when you are dealing with a hormonal based illness. But if you do the combination of exercise, the diet, as well as regulating the hormones, either through the medication your doctor is giving you, or or you do use more natural methods like I'm using, I was reached a point where I could, look like that. And I never thought that that was possible. But be patient with yourself. There is no overnight fix. Do what you can little by little. All right. Um, when you're pursuing health or healing, I just wanted to point out, like 5 summary things that is really, really helpful, as we were talking about with Yashi earlier, to believe positively that health is possible. If you're a person of faith, then ask God in faith for healing and for health. Read and meditate on healing scriptures, or if you're not a person of faith, positive affirmations that will help as well. Think healthy thoughts. Visualize yourself doing the things that you would do if you were healthy. And with words that come out of your mouth, confess positive things, confess things of health audibly from your mouth, even if it sounds weird, guys. And last but not least, perform activities that the healthy persons would do, even if you have to shorten it or you have to modify it. So when I am not, when I wasn't where I was supposed to be in terms of my physical health, because I had muscle degeneration and I'm trying to lift weights, I really couldn't do much. So even if you have to reduce the amount of weights, or to just use a bar alone, or to use a 2-pound dumbbell, whatever you have to do, modify it, reduce it. I've had to reduce my workout times to sometimes 5 minutes, because that's all I could take before my heart rate started to race, because the thyroid issue came with heart challenges as well. But do what you need to do. See yourself being healthy. All right. And I am also showing some of the products that help me. And this is the exciting part, because if you're paying attention, Yashi's going to ask a question and I'm going to give a giveaway of one of these awesome products. So the Double X is a supplement that I took that really, really helped me. It has 3 tablets in there. It is phytonutrients, macrominerals, and microminerals, and it contains all the nutrition to fill all the gaps and help to promote healing. Right? Complexion Bar is one of the face soaps that I use to help with my skin, especially when I had really, really poor acne. Iron is important for women, PCOS, or any autoimmune illness, because when your body fights itself, it tends to drain you energy-wise, and the iron will also help you. However, be careful with iron. Make sure you talk to your doctor first before you do any changes, whether in your diet, exercise, or supplements. Right? Probiotics are really, really helpful, because your gut is a very, very important part of regulating your health. In fact, 70% of your immune system, which fights disease, is in your gut. So probiotics are extremely important. Liver support, especially when you have energy challenges. The adrenal glands, which are right as beside a part of your liver, really, they need that extra support to help with fuel your body when it's fighting itself. All right. Glucose health and PMS women's health I include, especially for the persons who are fighting PCOS, because the glucose health contains lots of chromium, which helps to regulate your glucose levels normally. And the women's health also helps to regulate the glucose health regulates your blood glucose level naturally, and the women's health help to regulate your hormone levels naturally. So anybody who's looking for alternative, more natural treatments, as well as additional, so you don't have to come off the doctor's medication in order to take these, because I did both for a while until I decided I was coming off. All right. And that's it. This is just where you can find me. You can email me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. You can follow me for meal ideas, workout routines, natural-based supplements, as well as a lot of positive encouragement for emotional, mental, and spiritual health. And I have included a link to my shop in case you wanted to buy any of these products. And now I'm going to turn over back to Yashi, who is going to ask you questions for the giveaway.
Thank you so much, Mash. That was some really helpful information. And I'm sure a lot of people took away a lot from it. So for the giveaways, I hope you guys are paying attention. I think from the comments and everything, it seems that you guys were. So in the chat, whoever types first, either two things that
Oh, hold on.
Marshall.
Yashi,
Go
should
ahead.
I show the prize first before we ask the question, or does it you want
You
to do
can
it
if you
after?
like.
Yeah, okay. All right. So seeing that your community was mostly PCOS based, I in fact was going to give away one of those supplements that was very good for persons with PCOS, but I realized that there's going to be a lot of males on, and Ajay has been very participative as well as Philip, and so we wouldn't want them to win a prize and get, hormonal supplements. So I instead, I instead went with something that is very general, can use for both male and female. So I decided I'm going to give away one of the complexion bars that I showed in the picture attached, which is very good for helping your skin, treating with acne, and anybody can use it, male or female. And it actually has 3 bars in there, right? I don't, you can see, right? So it will last you a very long time, and it doesn't matter where in the world you are, you still get it. There's delivery, there's mail in systems. So yeah, she's gonna ask the question for our awesome prize.
So, guys, so I want you to type in the chat, whoever types first, either two things that Marshall suggested that you should do to deal with your PCOS, or just two things in general steps towards like a healthy life and those things. So, go, go, go.
Kimberly says
Two, right?
Barbados. Those are the 2 things. Travel to Barbados.
Kimberly,
Well,
come
that
on.
will reduce stress.
Just two things. And while they're typing, I just want to say thank you so much, Marshall, for sharing all that information and for sharing your journey and everything like that. It's so inspirational. Ah, and there we have it. Philip Biggs. He just encapsulated everything. You just like eat right.
Exercise.
I mean, I wouldn't go to. I'll be like, go a little more specific, Philip, but that's okay. I'll take that. We take that, Marshall. Wait, after
I'll take it.
my judge. Okay.
I'll take it. Congratulations, Philip.
Yay!
Yay! And I don't have to mail it because Philip is here in Jamaica. In fact, I'll see Philip at work. So you can get your prize.
So guys, so Marshall, thank you so much for sharing all your information and your journey. Guys, if you want more to know more about Marshall, be sure to follow her, reach out to her for more tips and everything. Oh, Cassandra came on and said, "Hey Marshall, gosh, Cassandra, you missed the prize giving."
I know, right? And to self-esteem exercise and be positive.
And Philip says, proud of you both. Well, I don't know you, Philip, but thank you very much. That's very big of you.
Thank you, Philip.
I don't know if anybody else got my joke. Ajay, I'm sure Ajay got my joke. Okay, all right.
Oh, that's a French joke, isn't it?
No, his name is Biggs.
What did you say? What? Oh, that was big of you. Oh, I just got it. It's very big of you, Philip Biggs. No, I get it. The awareness is very insightful.
So, guys, before you guys log off, Marshall talked a lot about like positive thinking and rewiring your mindset, which is something that I'm doing a lot now, and I'm also doing these mastermind groups with women. Sorry, Philip, if you have any women that you know who want to, because I really do think, I mean, everything that she said is so paramount to having a healthy lifestyle. You know, making the right decisions in terms of your diet and exercising. But in my personal experience, I needed to have the mindset set up right first so that I could be disciplined in making the choices and to stay consistent. So if you guys are here and you're interested in knowing like how to build those skills, because for me, I realized I didn't build those skills to do the things like stress management, mind management, how to even think positively, how to build proper relationships, how to take care of your environment, how to just live as an integrated woman looking at the different arenas in your life. It's called the Art of Being a Woman masterclass, and I'm doing mastermind groups with that. So it's just small groups of ladies, just about 6 ladies in each group, where we can go through the material and also we can just lean on each other for support, because just as Marshall was so gracious to come on here to share her experience, I am so grateful for that because I think it's so important for women, especially to share the journey and to share their struggles and to really lean on each other for support. Because to me, like I spent so many years dealing with something by myself when there were other people who could have related and we could have been there for each other, you know. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna leave the link in the comments so you guys can see the details and if you'd be interested in joining. And again, reach out to Marshall for her products and for her health tips and for all the wisdom that she just spewed on here tonight. So I'm so grateful for that. Well, and for
Oops,
her
sorry,
product.
I just went on.
I do that all the time. Every time I go to try to put like a thing in the comments, I always like that.
Because that's what the same thing as I was going to try to add in the comment section,
Yes.
and it just died.
So thank you again, Marshall. So anybody else before we leave, you have any questions? Jennifer says hi.
Oh, that's my mom. Hi,
Oh, hi, doll. Hi, moms. So supportive. You could have
mommy. Yes.
twice the prize, mom. I wouldn't know anything.
Yeah. Well, you can see the resemblance a bit from the picture.
Let me see again. Let me see again. Oh, yes, she's so beautiful. No.
Thank you. I take it after her.
Yes. Okay, guys. So
Yeah.
everybody who's on, thank you so much for being so interactive and so supportive.
Sure.
And just make sure you take your health seriously. Don't wait till there's a point where it's just you have no choice, like we did. Try to make
Yeah.
those changes now if you can. um, do everything she said. Have pray if you need to. Have positive thoughts. Get the support if necessary. Okay, so guys, with that, we are going to end the live tonight. And thanks once again to Marshall and to everybody who tuned in.
Okay.
Bye.
I'm sharing my website.